Welcome to the Atlanta SEO for Local Businesses Meetup. I'm Trisha Clemens, and Andy Simpson is our other host here today. April is not here, but she'll be back again soon. And basically, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of turn things over to Andy and let him start, because he'll introduce himself and everything. If you have questions, let's go ahead and where am I? Put the questions in the chat, and at the end we're going to go through the questions. That way we don't get stopped, and we'll have plenty of time at the end for questions. Plenty of time.
We should be about, this talk should be about 40 minutes, depending on how long I waffle on for.
Yeah, so okay,
I shall do that. Okay, so I shall do the classic. Can you see my screen? So let me share that. So hopefully,
okay.
Yes.
Yep. And if everybody will mute themselves as well.
So obviously this isn't the trials. This is where I spoke a couple of weeks ago, and I did my presentation that I'm going to be presenting to you today. And I spent hours on it, and I thought I didn't want to waste. I just did it the once. I spoke about it 1.5 times at the conference the other weekend, and I thought it would be ideal to share with this group. So that's what I'm sharing. So today I am talking about, as advertised, Google local search top tips for 22. You can download it from that URL there. That will just redirect you to the PDF of these slides that you're going to look at. So you don't really need to make any notes. So I'm going to be talking about the big changes that have happened in local search recently at the end of 2021. Things that happened in November and December. I'm going to talk, and then I'm going to share some tips for your Google business profile and your website. Okay, so let's get into it. So a little bit about me, because not all of you have met me before, so I'll be very brief on this. Yes, I'm Andy Simpson. I'm married with 2 cats, Bart and Lisa. There is a joke there, obviously, because my surname's Simpson. Anyway, I'm from Leeds in England. If you've got no idea where Leeds is, it's 3,000-ish miles in that direction. I'm currently in Georgia, Alpharetta, Georgia. And I'm 200 miles north of London. So I'm classed as a northerner when it comes to living in England. So that's where I'm from. I've been doing this web stuff since my first website went live in 1996. And then soon, well, maybe a year or 2 after that, give or take, I realized there was no good having a website if nobody could find you on Google. So I got into this thing called, I don't think it was even called SEO then, it was just search stuff. So I've been doing it a long time. I've been doing legal SEO for 7 years, since I moved to the United States. So this, actually, side note, this presentation, because I presented it to attorneys, it will be lawyer-based, attorney-based. So some of the examples, some of the screenshots, but this can apply to any local business. I would say a massive percentage of local businesses, these tips I'm going to share today. Okay, and I work for a company called Digital Law Marketing, who are a marketing firm for legal attorneys around the country, just in the United States. I'm very active on Twitter. You'll see me sharing hints and tips and observations that I might do something on Google and it'll produce a weird result, and I'll share it with people on Twitter saying, oh, did you see this? Did you see that? And if you want to follow me, my handle is there. And I've also taken part in the 2020 and the 2021 local search ranking factors survey, which is a massive survey that is done each year. 40 of the top local SEO experts from across the world are asked to take part. We're asked to give our feedback about what's happening, what's changing in Google My Business and local search, what's working and what's not working anymore. And all that's put together in a big survey report. And these tips, some of these tips are what is in this survey. But again, if you follow that link, the bit.ly link, it's case sensitive. Again, that will take you to, I'll just Google 2021 local search ranking factors survey, and that'll take you to the same page, same result. Anyway, so that's me. So let's crack on. So what were the recent changes in local search? The first big one for us was Google My Business was rebranded to Google Business Profile. Now it's been Google My Business for the last 7 years. So if I say Google My Business in this presentation at some point, I really mean Google Business Profile, or GBP. Now the annoying thing is GBP also stands for Great British Pound. So obviously on a personal note, it's a little bit annoying that the short for it's just confusing in my little brain sometimes. So that was a big brand change. So Google Business Profile. What did the end user, what did people like yourself see? Not a lot, just the word change. But you can now edit your Google Business Profile directly from the search results. So if you did a brand search for your company, which would display your Google Business Profile on the right-hand side, like in this example, you can see that you can now edit the profile directly from the search results. You don't have to log into the dashboard where you would usually make edits. Personally, I still prefer logging into the dashboard, but I'm going to come to that reason in a few tips time. But this is the big change when GMB rebranded to Google Business Profile. The 3-pack got a redesign. So if you've been seeing the new design, don't worry, you're not going mad. So it has been rebranded. Got rebranded at the end of last year. So it used to look like that with the map at the top and the businesses down the bottom there. Now looks like this. So we've got a much larger map we can see there. And we've got the businesses listed on the left. And I think there's much more emphasis on the size of the icons that you can see there for the businesses. So a nice, strong business image is recommended, but not one of my tips today. The next thing that happened is something called the vicinity update. I'm going to quickly skim over this because I could talk for, well, I could probably talk longer. I could talk for 30 minutes at least on this update. It was the largest local search update that's happened in the last 5 years. So it's shaking up some of the local listings of what's happened. Again, if you want to read a summary by Sterling Sky, please follow that link you'll see in the bottom there. But to summarize what we're seeing, our observations so far, I put there, the proximity factor has been dialed back up. So for local searchers, say they're doing, again, I'll use legal example, personal injury lawyer in Google, and it brings up the map, the 3-pack and the map. We're seeing a much closer zoomed in to where that user's position, their proximity or their vicinity. They're seeing much more local results in their local area, where before it was a larger spread of results over the city or the town they lived in. Now we're seeing a much more focused, most of the time, a much more focused search result in that 3-pack. Now, keywords in the business, that's the next 2 points. Keywords in the business name is still a ranking factor, and review factors. What are review factors? I'm going to be covering those points in my tips going forward. So I'm not going to go over those points there because I talk about it in the tips. Yeah, let me move on. Let's get cracking with the tips that I keep talking about. Again, you can download the deck from there. So let's get cracking. So tip. So what is your Google Business Profile? It's the business listing that appears on the right-hand side. It's also your Google Business Profile is what appears in the 3-pack. On the left, you can see it in that example in the 3-pack, but it's also something, your listing also appears in something called Local Finder and in Google Maps. All those are your Google Business Profile, and the first 5 tips will help you in your ranking to try and push you into that 3-pack or move you up higher in the Local Finder and the Google Maps listing. There's only 5 things that affect ranking. There's many things you can do in your Google Business Profile, but there's only 5 things that can affect your Google position, your ranking position. So what are they? Tip number 1, use the correct business category. Again, it's a legal example. Make sure that you've set your business category, your main primary category, to what you do, what your business does. So in the legal world, we often see that attorneys set their business to law firm, and they are a law firm, so it's sort of correct. But if they're a personal injury attorney, they should be setting it to their main practice area. So do check to make sure that you are using the correct category. You can also add additional categories. So for attorneys, we recommend they set their primary one to personal injury lawyer, and then by all means they can add law firm, lawyer, and other legal related categories in the additional categories feature. So the screenshot there, when it's that block which says category, this is what you would see in your profile dashboard, and that's where you can change your categories. And do not add categories that don't apply to your business, because it can be a negative factor to your business listing. So don't try and catch everything. Oh, that'll do, and add that one. And we see it a lot, not for attorneys, but for other small businesses. They try and capture other markets that they're sort of involved with. Stick to your categories that apply to your business. Okay, tip number 2, the website link. What link, when somebody clicks on that link, that button there that says website, what page do they click through to? Is it 9 times out of 10, it's your homepage, which is fine, because in theory, your homepage is the strongest page of your website. And that's a really good thing for that link. But if you're a multi-location business, you might have 5 or 6 offices scattered around. Let's use the Atlanta area as an example. You might have, you might have an Alpharetta office, and you've got a business listing, and it clicks through to you've got a little landing page saying, so when they click on there, it goes through it goes through to the Alpharetta business landing page saying, oh, we've got an office here, a little bit of text, here's our phone number and address, and here's a map. That's a weak landing page. It's a location page, but it hasn't got a lot of oomph about it. I would say the word juice and all those other words that you shouldn't use about web pages, but it's a weak landing page. So try changing that link to link through to the homepage. And then hopefully somewhere on your homepage, you actually mention about you've got an Alpharetta office, and then the user can click on that and go through to your Alpharetta office if they want to know more. So make sure that that's clicking through to a strong landing page. It would be wrong of me if I'm talking about linking through to your website not to mention this. So this is a little bit of a side tip. Make sure that you're tracking the link that's coming through to your website. If there's no tracking, if you don't, when that user clicks through to your website, in your Google Analytics and your Google Search Console, you've no idea where that traffic came from. It doesn't automatically get labeled, oh, this traffic came from your Google Business Profile listing. It just gets lost either in the organic part of Google Analytics or the direct traffic. So you can't find out how popular that link is, how much traffic you're getting from your GMB, whatever it is, because you're not tracking it. So you add something called UTM tagging or UTM tracking. How do you know that you're using it? Very, very easy to check. Find your Google Business Profile listing, click on the website link, come through to your website. So you can do it on your mobile. I'm doing this. You can do it on your mobile phone or your desktop. And if you come through to your website, have a look at your web address. And if it's just your web address and nothing else, you're not tracking your URL. You're not tracking that link. If it has something I've highlighted, an example I've highlighted in red there, if it's got UTM_source equals blah, blah, you're using or your marketing department or whoever is looking after your SEO is using UTM tagging. And it's a must to find out how active that GMB listing is. There's no other way of knowing and tracking how much traffic you're getting from that website link. You get some rough indication in your Google Business Profile insights data in your dashboard, but it's not accurate, and you can do a lot more with UTM tracking than if you weren't using. Yeah, you can use it for all sorts of different stats about how popular it is and who's clicking through and where they went through on your website, etc. Did it lead to a lead? Did they fill in your contact page and things like that? So linked, add your tracking to your link. Tip number 3, your identity attributes. Certain business types can add attributes to their business listing, which will help them in the local search, depending on the query. So you can identify as being Black owned, Latino owned, veteran owned, or woman owned. So in this example again, I did female divorce lawyers near me. And this was a search in Miami Beach where the conference was. And the only reason Divorce Harmony is showing in that 3-pack is because they've identified as being woman owned. Now, I do hear, yeah, but how many people search for female owned businesses or Black owned businesses? Let me show you the data. So looking at my top queries in my Google Search Console data, I can see the sort of terms people are searching for that include the term female. So people are, you can see there, female family law attorney, female divorce attorney near me. So users are searching for the word. They are being specific for that search female. So because we've identified as being woman owned, they are appearing in that 3-pack. If they hadn't, and had just done divorce lawyer near me, they're not in that 3-pack listing. So that identifying it as female owned helped me in that female specific query. They weren't ranking in that 3-pack anyway. And that's what this example shows. And again, that attributes thing, that box you can see on the screen, that again, you can find in your Google Business Profile dashboard. And you can just select whichever one. You can select if all 3 apply or 2 or 3 apply, you can just select as many that apply as possible. You're not limited to just the one. Tip number 4, reviews. Reviews matter. I'm sure you hear, we talk about it all the time. It's still a massive local ranking factor. The more reviews you have in your local area, the stronger your presence is going to be in your town or your city. And certainly in that, if you're in a city, certainly in that local catchment area. And if you have a lot of, you can actually spread. The more reviews you get, the stronger your listing becomes. However, you can have, your reviews can reach a saturation point where getting more and more doesn't give you more power or more strength in the local area. Once you've become the top ranking business in that area, so, for example, Joe Bloggs down the street, he's your competitor. He's got 100 reviews. You've got 200 reviews. Getting more and more isn't going to get you higher above him. You are always going to stay at the top. So just as long as you stay ahead of your competition, then you'll keep that standing, that number 1 ranking, that position. You don't have to get more and more. It's not going to increase your stature in the local search. One of these things, there's a fantastic, very new thing about reviews. I've taken a quote from Bright Local. Again, that review there, you can click through why reviews are important and everything. By following that review, that's a really good article there from Bright Local. Was there anything else I want to say about reviews before moving on to this? If you're in the same building as a similar firm. So I'm going to use attorneys again. Sorry, I'm very legal focused. But you'll find that personal injury lawyers, when they all like packed together, you might find 3, 4, 5 legal firms in the same building. So what? When a local searcher in the town does a search for personal injury lawyer near me, the business in that building with the highest number of reviews will be the one that shows in the local area. The other 3 or 4 businesses won't appear unless that user zooms in on that location, and then their businesses will appear. So in that building, if you are a business and there's other businesses of the same business type, dentist, brain's gone dead, but you must have to appear locally for your in your local position, in your local area. You must have the most reviews in your building over your competition. I hope that makes sense. We can go to questions. If it didn't, I was semi-randomly making that up as I went along, but I hope it makes sense. So let me get into reviews. This is something we've seen with the Vicinity update, which was the big local update that happened at the end of November, December, if you remember me talking about it at the beginning of my talk. We think these review factors have increased. So what are review factors? So it's not just the number of reviews that you get, it's these other points as well: recency, frequency, engagement, and keywords in your review. So if you're a business and you happen to have keyword attributes in your business name, which we're going to come onto in a second, Google is, and if your competition is also doing the same with keyword, if it's looking at your two businesses, we're thinking it's going to take these review factors into consideration as well. So you might be really close. So which one wins? Google's going to look at these. The one with more frequency, engagement, and recency may be the one that ranks higher and push out of the 3-pack the company that's not focusing on these other review factors. The business name, it's still the #1 ranking factor, even after the Vicinity update, where we thought the update might remove businesses using keyword attributes in their business name. So how does that help? Using keywords in your business name, unfortunately, helps you in the local search results. It's, like I said, it's the #1 ranking factor, and companies are doing it legally and they're doing it illegally. Or when I say illegally, they're going against Google's guidelines saying that you shouldn't be adding keywords to your business name, but they are, because it helps in the search results. So in this example, we've got Taylor and Ring, a good client of mine. They don't use keyword attributes in their business name, which is fine. You don't have to. The middle one, the Hayden firm, have legally rebranded so that is their business name. So they've used keyword attributes in their business name purely for the reason to rank on Google Maps and in that search pack, because of the influence having keywords in their business name helps them in that listing. So they rebranded, they did a DBA, a doing business as, and rebranded to that business name. The last one, which I changed the company name to Simpson Firm PA. I changed it for legal reasons because I didn't want to get the company I didn't want to get the company in trouble who actually are doing this. So I changed the name a little bit, but they're using, we can see their best personal injury attorney and lawyers law firm, Miami. Now they rank really, really well for personal injury lawyer Miami. And the only reason is because they've got those keyword attributes or spam words in their business name, which is against Google's guidelines. You can report that business, you can suggest an edit, but where you can just go in and as a Google user, you can go in and say, this business is not called this, it is called just the Simpson Firm PA. Better still, if that was a competitor of you, you can actually do a redressal form, and you can actually put in an official complaint to Google saying they're using keyword attributes in their business name. They're not called that, they're called this. So you can actually officially report, and that's probably a better way of reporting it to Google than doing suggest and edit if you want that name change to stick. All right, because there's nothing, you might change it, you might suggest an edit, it changes to Simpson Firm PA for a few days, and then the firm go back, rename the business, and it's back online as what you can see there. So the best way is to use the Google redressal form, where you can report businesses like that. So rebranding, you might want to rebrand because your competition is rebranding. So how do you do, what's the pros and cons of rebranding? The pros, it's a massive ranking benefit, as I've explained, but the cons, it's a rebranding headache. There's a lot of paperwork to do. There's an expense to it. If you were to rebrand your business, you've got to redo the signage outside the business, redo the signage inside, letterheads, change it on your website, change your logo, update your logo. And when you do change your listing, your competitors might think you're spamming your business name. So they might actually report you to Google saying, look at this business, he's using keywords in his business name, and they might report you. So you could get your listing suspended once you spent all that time being rebranded, because the company that are reporting you don't realize that you are now called that business name. It can be all for nothing, because if you start doing it, your competition might do it as well. So in a local town, you're an attorney, you'll put personal injury lawyer in your business name, and so do 3 or 4 other businesses. So it puts you all back on the same playing field, because you're all using keywords in your business name. So you might have just wasted your time because your competition have done it. And we are seeing less and less, after this Vicinity update, we are seeing slightly less effect. It's not as strong as it was, but it's still working because of the review factors that we talked about. So a lot of businesses are using these keywords. Those review factors are being looked at as well. Okay, so personally, right now, I don't think I would recommend doing it. I'd wait another month or 2 just for things to settle down to see exactly what has happened after this Vicinity update. So don't immediately go ahead and start rebranding yourself unless you do some local research into that. So those 5 we've looked at, they are ranking tips. They should help change the position of where you will appear in your search results. This one is basically just keep an eye. This tip is just keep an eye on your Google Business Profile dashboard. There's so many things being changed and removed, not on a weekly basis, but it sometimes feels like it. Patricia might agree that your business listing, your profile is not a set it and forget it area. Again, there's a link there, Monitoring GBP. It's a really good article, again, by Claire at Bright Local, about how important you should be checking your Google Business Profile, maybe on every couple of weeks if you're depending on what business type you are, but certainly going in, because Google adds things and removes things. It's where you can post your photographs. It's where you respond to reviews. It's where you can add products and services. I mentioned earlier, Google gives you things and then takes them away. So one feature, you could create a short link that you could share with your customers, nice clean URL, short URL that you could share, and it would take them to your business. If they followed it, they could take you to your business listing where they could leave you a review. Well, that's probably been out, what, 1.5 years, 2 years-ish. And then boof, Google went, oh, we're going to take that away now. Thanks for using it. But yeah, so it's been removed. So that was good of them. So do keep an eye on your Google Business Profile dashboard. Onto your website. So let me just take a drink. And my tip is, be clear on your location. What do I mean by that? Again, legal example, but I hope you get it, I hope it applies to your business. So this is a classic practice area page I see on many, not our website that we do, but on our competition or, when we're looking at sites to assess, etc. Now it's medical malpractice. Well, that's great. So there's a bit of blurb about medical malpractice. Medical malpractice what? Where are you? Google, when you search, when your client customers search, your users search, Google knows where they're searching from. So try and make your content as crystal clear about where you are and what you do. Okay. So in my example, this is a client of ours. Again, it's medical malpractice, but we are a medical malpractice attorney. It's there in black and white, and we're in York in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania again, so that's the H1 heading. And then in the H2, we've also stressed Pennsylvania. So we're quite clear to Google. There's other parts of the website we do this as well, and other code we can add to the page. But we've really hit home. We do this, and this is where we do it. One reason for this is the number of towns in the US that are all named the same. Makes me laugh, obviously, coming from the UK, where we might have 1-2 towns named the same in the whole country. But there are 23 places in the US called York. So even if I had just said medical malpractice attorney in York, Google would have gone, okay, which York are we actually talking about? So again, hit home where you are and what you do. It's very easy to do, makes sense, looks clean, clear to the user. Again, somebody in York will realize, probably know that there's more than one York in the United States. So at least you've also said to your user, yes, we are in the York where you're searching, that you're searching for. So it's good for the user and it's really good for Google. Tell them where you are. Yeah. Good. Nearly there. This one actually has been not controversial on Twitter recently, but there's been discussion about the near me, using near me in your content. More and more people are searching for the near me term. How do I know this? I look at my Google Search Console data and I get, this is the queries, this is what people are using to find businesses near them. So we can quite clearly see people are searching for that near me term. Personal injury attorney near me, car accident attorney near me, mental health lawyer near me. So people are searching for that near me term. So we've simply added, I think I talked about this before, but one of my tips, you just add a simple phrase there. What's that? 3 lines, it's a heading, personal injury lawyer near me, blah, 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 and that's it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it's not going, you're not going to get penalized. So if this works for me, which it does, then great. I've put 3 lines of text. So let me just skip that. So does it work? I set my location, I faked my location to be 1 mile away from my client's office in York, PA. And then all I did was do a personal injury lawyer near me. So I had to fake my location because I'm in Alpharetta. If I'd have done that, I'd have got local people around my area. So I faked my location to York, did that search, and in position, we're in the 3-pack, great. But organically in the normal search results, because I had that term near me on that page, I'm ranking at, I think it's 5 or 6 in the organic search results. Now, I wouldn't be ranking there if I didn't have that content on my webpage. So for me, it's a win-win. If it worked, fantastic. If it didn't, no harm, no foul. And that's the only reason is I've got that contact near me term on my webpage. It's on my car accident page. It's on my MedMal page. Doesn't have to be a big blurb, just a few lines, mention it, and it should work. It usually works, a little side tip, it usually works within about 2 or 3 miles. I think I've got as far as, again, depends on the size of the town and the city and your local competition. But for businesses, I found it working within a 2 or 3 mile radius of that business location, of users around that office area. Okay. Stronger in some parts of the town, it's weaker in others, depending on competition. But I digress. This was the thing that was on Twitter. This is a little bit of a side funny thing. This was probably a little bit extreme. The dentist actually, I think, where was he now? Texas, was it? I think it might have been, or New Mexico, Texas, somewhere like that. Actually rebranded as Dentist Near Me. I call it, a bit extreme branding. Surprisingly, I did a little bit of, because I'm a geek and I do things like this, I actually checked this guy out. It didn't work very well in the 3-pack, but in the local area, in the organic results, because his business was called Dentist Near Me, it actually worked for him in the local organic terms, but he wouldn't have had a very big spread. So it sort of worked, but it's a little bit OTT, I believe. Internal linking. I think I've talked much more than half an hour, so I apologize. Oh wow. Okay. Internal linking, very important. Google loves you to build that topical relevance for your website. Yeah. So in this example, I've got a blog about medical malpractice. And in that blog, I've mentioned that they do medical malpractice. And I've made that link to the medical malpractice page. So there's that connection. There's that topical relevance. And if possible, in that main medical malpractice page, I'm linking back to the blog as well. So again, you link to me, I'll link to you. You've made that relevance, that connection that is good for the user, but it's also great for Google to see that picture. So I can't stress internal linking enough. We've seen some massive results just by working on the internal linking of client websites. If you want to know if you've got good or bad, I've speeded up now because I've just realized the time. If you wanted to know if you've got good or bad internal linking. So this is a site of an average size with a few blogs, etc. You can use something like Screaming Frog. So if you haven't got Screaming Frog, your SEO specialist will have Screaming Frog, and you can produce charts like this. So what do they mean? Each green dot is a page of your website. So on the good one, the left-hand one, that big, what I call flower or daisy at the top, has got the web pages, but it's got these branches that branch out and cause another little daisy or flower. So that all these are interconnected because of the internal links. However, the poor one is just the home page, just the pages of the website, and there's very little branching off. So that the internal linking, that tells me the internal linking of that website is very poor, very weak. So you want to be looking at, you want a site looking more like the one on the left than the one on the right. Know where your audience is coming from. Is it coming from mobile or desktop? 2 examples here. Just look in your analytics and you will see where your traffic is. Where does the majority of your audience come from? In this, on the example on the left, almost 70% of users are coming from mobile. Your GBP insights, that's data about your Google business profile listing. Almost 75% of users are looking at that listing on their mobile device. So when you're sat in your office looking at your website or wherever you are looking at your website, if I know that 75% of my audience is looking at my website on a mobile, maybe I shouldn't be looking at the desktop every day and thinking, oh, that looks pretty, that looks lovely, that works really well, look at that pretty picture there. Look at the mobile site, because that's what 75% of your audience are looking at. When it comes to mobile and desktop, even more important is speed. How fast is that mobile site? Speed is a ranking factor. So if you are quicker than your competition, there's a good chance it will help you in the ranking results. If there's not much between your 2 websites, your competition and you, if you're faster, that's another tick in the box, which will hopefully put you above your competition. test everything. We've done these tips for quite a while. These work for me and work for other, when we get a new client on board, sometimes everything doesn't work the first time. So test everything, monitor, measure, adjust, repeat. It does work. They just take time sometimes. And I think that was it. Yeah. And then some marketing spiel at the end of that. So sorry, I apologize for what I did warn you. I've waffled for an hour. So questions.
Yes, we had one question so far from Beth, and she can come on, but her question, you were talking about the Google business profile, Sam in the name, and her question was about it being good or bad, and part of it depends. So as far as whether to decide to actually rebrand or not. So
I think
Beth, was there anything specific that you had?
If your competition are doing it and you've reported them and Google's doing nothing about it, you're going, look, the only reason I'm not in that 3-pack is because my competition are spamming their business name. Well, don't spam your business name, just do a DBA and rebrand and do it the correct way.
Well, here's why I asked, because I'm launching my agency. I'm separating my agency from my online course. I don't know why they're together in the first place, but so I'm starting, let's call it relaunching my agency under a completely different name. So it's not really a rebrand. So, because I haven't really been working in that as much as I have with online course. So, and I'm taking it a whole different direction. So I'm thinking, well, I can name it whatever I want to name it. Right. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, is this a good thing or a bad?
Just be prepared, depending on how competitive your local competition is. See who your local competition is. Do they rank on Google My Business? Like there's a classic, there's a few Atlanta SEO companies, Atlanta SEO, and some do it legally and some just put Atlanta SEO at the end of their business name and they've not done it correctly. So just do a Google search and see what appears now. But like you said, it's quite nice. You've got you haven't branded your business name. So just having the correct name, having those specific keywords in that business name could be fantastic. Well, also support that listing with reviews. But having a good business name is a big tick in the box.
Okay, so I have a question. So the area that I live in North Carolina is called the Triad. It's Winston-Salem, High Point, and Greensboro.
Yes.
Okay, so I was going to call my company Triad Web Advisors because what I want to do is help people fix their websites. Like, what's wrong with it? Let's fix it and then get on a care plan. All I really want is that care plan.
Yeah.
for the long-term revenue. But so should I call it NC Triad Web Advisors? Because then there's other areas that are called the Triad.
Okay, as a local, it might be worth asking a few friends and family and a few non-friends and family to get a non-biased, because you'll also, when you do that, you get biased search. You get biased. Oh yeah, no, that sounds great. Yeah, and actually it's not. Do you put, when you're searching for Triad stuff, do you use that term, Triad, when you're looking for things?
I don't. I either use my city, I either use Greensboro, or if I'm wanting to find something in Winston, I'll look, I'll search for Winston-Salem. So good point.
Do you ever use Triad? So you might be wasting a keyword, which you could maybe.
Well, great. I thought I had my company name decided and I got to go back to the drawing board. Thanks a lot, Andy.
Okay. And another thing, maybe ask friends, family, etc., other professionals in your area, what would they Google if they were looking for you, if they were looking for your service?
Okay, that's a good idea. I know lots of people I can ask that question of.
And then Google that, and then see who's appearing in that local 3-pack.
That's so simple, but it's so brilliant. Ask people,
I'll use that as a quote. Andy Simpson, so brilliant, so simple, so brilliant.
So brilliant. No, so the first thing when I started, I got involved in startup weekends and things like that, and the whole entrepreneur thing that was going on there for a while. And the very first thing they taught us was get out of the room, go out there and talk to people.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's the only way you're going to find out. You can guess what people will buy, but go ask them. So good advice.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth.
We have another question. Greg asks, in the description, is it a good idea to put the towns you serve? Pretty sure he's talking about the Google business profile, and you definitely can put it in there, but just so you know that the description is not something that Google pulls from search. So if it's good to put it in there so that people know, but it's not something people are going to pull in, Google's going to pull in and search.
The only ranking, yeah, good point. The only thing that affects your ranking for your Google business profile is the 5 things I spoke to, the first 5 tips I spoke about. So adding photographs with pictures and geotagging images and all that nonsense is just nonsense. What Trisha just said, those keywords in that business description, great, but don't list every single town, village, city, whatever. You're wasting your time. There's only 5 things that move that dial, and it's the 5 tips that we talked about.
Let's see. I think Norman had just, I think, a follow-up to Beth's about looking at Ahrefs for the term triad and the keywords. Let's see. And David, yeah, wanted to make sure you don't limit yourself about adding that, because I know you're focused on that area, but maybe you're not only doing that area. So you want to make sure you don't do that. And Beth has a follow-up question. If I actually do serve all 3 cities within 30 miles of one another, how do I get traction in all 3? Open offices in all 3.
Of those 3 areas, maybe, to be honest, it's really funny, but it's not your triad, but we're looking at a triad at the moment. And we're looking at the most affluent one, which is the most affluent of the 3.
Yeah.
And where would you like the most business coming from? So that's one idea we're working with at the moment. But if you were to use the town or city, whatever, in that business name.
Yeah, and I was kind of talking about also adding to that, like the Google business profile, because it is, especially with the vicinity update, is more focused. So if you're really, yeah, so Michael says create location pages. Yes, absolutely. Create those and have a lot of good content on them, not just like a little, not just basic. Add a lot about the specific locations. Great idea, Michael. But we're looking at the Google business profile, it is really limited, especially with the vicinity update. And some businesses, if they want to expand out to another area, they will actually, the best way to do that is to actually have other locations. But you're, I believe, a service area business, so that would, it being so close, they are, you wouldn't be able to do 3 service locations in that small area. Question is, what are location pages? And on your website, I'll let Andy go talk about that a bit more.
Yeah,
sorry.
Location pages. You might have an office in. I'll go back to Alpharetta and give me another town in Georgia. Anyway, you might have offices. You might have offices in other locations in the same state, and you'll just have an overview of that office. So it'll be yourdomainname.com/Alpharetta landing page. So it's a location specific landing page. Where would you talk? Your business, what you do, where you are, your services, etc. Maybe a map and your address, phone number. That's like a location page of, we've got 5 offices and here they are, and you've got a page for each one of those offices. However, they can be really weak and pathetic and be absolutely pointless. I should do I should do a webinar on landing pages because they frustrate me to death. So,
Yeah, if it's not, because I think with the location pages, you can really, especially if there's certain things in the different areas that you're emphasizing, you can really make them a lot better. But just putting location pages that don't have a lot of depth to them won't be good.
got to be a good page in themselves.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just wasted your time.
Okay. Any more questions?
Thank you. That was very helpful, but now I have to rename my business. David Zimmerman, I need some suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Okay. I don't see any more questions. So yeah, it looks like, does Greg have one? He looks like he might be trying to ask a question. You can unmute Greg if you want.
Again, you can download this deck. You might have missed the URL, Digital Law Marketing. That's the firm I work with, /NTL 2022.
And I will put that again in the chat. Whoops.
And it's just a PDF. It's nothing, there's no marketing. I'm not asking for your email addresses. It's just the PDF of these things. It's just these slides.
Well, I don't mind you having it.
Yeah. Okay, Greg, you had a question?
Yeah, you mentioned UTM tracking. How do you get that?
You can. Go ahead.
Can you still see my screen? I think you can. It's really tracking. There we go. Website link. Let me go into presentation mode.
I'm going to put a link into that. I put a link.
How do you get that? So if you, not putting me on the spot, just refining what I'm going to say to you to make sure that it all makes sense, because you've noticed I do waffle. So literally that piece of text in red, Greg, I think it was Greg that you asked that, Greg, yes?
Yeah.
You take an example of that and just change. So let me explain what this piece of code does. So your domain name / where it says source equals Google, you're telling Google Analytics the source of this, of where this click through came in. When somebody clicks through to your website, we've got to tell Google Analytics the source, where that came from. Yeah, so we're saying it came from Google.
Okay.
And then the medium is, and it came from so it says medium equals organic. It came from, your listing appeared from an organic search. So your traffic from your GMB listing will go into your organic traffic that you can see in your Google Analytics. And at the end, I've said campaign equals GMB office. So that tells Google, or tells me in analytics, because I can filter by campaign and blah, blah, blah. So if I was a multi-location, that would be GMB Office 1, Office 2, Office 3. I could create several links passing that information to Google Analytics, which Google My Business listing it came from. So you could almost use this one in red 100%, 99% without making any changes. The only change you might want to change is where it says campaign equals GMB hyphen office. You can check, keep it lowercase, but you just change that to Greg's office, or something that means something to you. But keep everything else.
So let me clarify this.
Sorry, it was a bit random what I was saying there, but.
No. I just want to clarify for my own self. So I've never seen this link that you all put in here. And so this is essentially Bitly. I can do this for as many different URLs as I want to, not just my Google My Business listing, right?
No, don't start doing that.
Yeah.
You can use it. You can use it for things like Facebook and Twitter, so you can track traffic, those links. So you could be your there's a whole, I'm just trying to trim. If you put a link in, ideally This is for your Google My Business listing, UTM tagging, UTM tagging. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's a really, really good article online, which we'll share in the chat or we'll share in the meetup group, which will explain UTM tagging much better than I am right now. But say in Facebook or Twitter, you wanted to do a link to your website. So it's your domain name / web design. You paste it into Facebook. You don't know, well, how that when somebody clicks on that link and comes to your website, in Google Analytics, you can't see that click through. You might see traffic from Facebook, but you won't know it's from that link. So
Yeah,
at the end of that,
but I didn't word my question carefully. That's what I'm talking about. If
So-
it's any place where you want to track it through Google Analytics that doesn't normally have a tracking code there, you can use this to do that with, correct?
Yes, yes. So you would say medium,
That's
you would
a better way
say,
to ask that question.
so you would say source equals Facebook, medium, you could say banner or link from, you could change that to what makes sense to you, and then campaign equals Facebook link about web design, or something. You could just adapt each part of those sections. I hope I sort of so yes, you can use it. Let's share that link, and it'll be hopefully much clearer as well.
I shared the link to the, are you talking about Claire's
Claire's,
guide?
yeah.
I shared the link to Claire's guide for UTM codes about creating them. I think David had a question, had something to add.
I just warning with UTM codes. They're wonderful, but Beth, you are getting really excited about something that really could hurt you if you're not careful. So what this does is when you see a visit in Google Analytics says this is where that visitor came from, right? Google Organic from another website, from your Facebook. What UTM codes do is allow you to override what Google Analytics thinks is the actual visit.
Okay.
So do only, Andy said it right, exactly right. Don't just go putting this everywhere, because you could override stuff you don't want to override. But what this is doing in Andy's example here is making sure that when someone clicks off your Google My Business listing, Google Analytics knows to attribute it correctly. Otherwise, like Andy said, sometimes it goes to the direct, sometimes it's organic. It's just, so this will allow you to always know where your Google My Business listing came from, traffic came from, right? Facebook has a similar issue with Google Analytics, right? Sometimes it comes from L.Facebook, M.Facebook. Sometimes it doesn't know, which means Google Analytics says and throws it into direct. If you tagged your Facebook links with a similar UTM code, of course, you change the source to Facebook, the medium to whatever's appropriate. That overrides what Google Analytics sees. So it's not like Bitly, like you suggested. You can't go to the UTM website and track clicks on this link. It just overrides whatever's there. So it's a way of cleaning up the data in analytics. Yeah, but Andy, I think Andy was trying to get at the idea of you can really hurt yourself if you, like, I've seen people put this within their own website. Oh, bad. That will screw things up bad. So I just wanted, before we get too excited about this, understand what it's doing.
I get it now. I
Yeah.
get it now. Thank you.
And
I appreciate it.
So
But I'm
I
still
have-
waiting on you to name my business.
Okay, so I have put it, we're past time, so let me kind of wrap things up. So I have a link in the chat to the
Thanks,
UTM
David.
generator and also Claire's guide to UTMs. And one thing I know Michael was mentioning is that take a look at that article with Claire Carlisle, because you've got to set up a strategy. You can't just be throwing these things in, because you really need to, when you look at your Google Analytics, you need to really know where the data is from and that you're not messing with things. I know where, when I create my UTM tags, I have all that in a spreadsheet of every single UTM tag I create. So you definitely want to be careful with that. So, okay. So anything to follow up on, Andy, before you close out?
No, but saying, oh, what David, yes, you can screw up your information, but do add it to your GMB listing.
Yes, GBP.
Otherwise, you don't
business
know
profile
what
listing.
traffic you've got from your
Yeah.
your GBP listing. So do
Quick
screw with those
final
other things.
question.
Yes.
Quick question. So you said you faked the location when you were researching York. Is that just through a VPN or something?
There's
No.
a Google Chrome extension. Is that what you use, Andy?
Yes, and it is. Which one is it? Because I've got a few. It is an extent. It's awesome. I use it because I
GS
do
location.
GS location changer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just Google that. Google that GS location changer Chrome extension. You can do it for Firefox or Chrome, and you can ping yourself. It's amazing. It's really, really good tool.
Cool.
Okay. So I also need to put the link in here to make sure that everybody is on our Facebook group. So I'll put that in the chat as well. And next month, Andy and I discussed it earlier. It's going to be, of course, our meetings are the second Wednesday of the month at 11:30 Eastern. So it's going to be March 9th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And what we're going to talk about next month are specifically reviews. There are a lot of different things that have come out about reviews. There's a recent really big FTC fine, $4.2 million. So we're going to be talking about lots of different things. And it's going to be really talking about not only the businesses, but also web developers, because it has some impact on web developers as well, what you're doing on your clients' websites. So that's what we're talking about. And things are always new and changing with that. So we'll bring, what's out at the time and come with questions. Beth, I see that face. Okay, everyone.
Exhausting. Why did they keep changing everything?
Well, they didn't change that. They clarified, and the FTC clarified and updated their guidelines, and they fined a business that they thought were using, I'm not sure what's the word, unethical practices or something, because FTC is all about consumer, protecting the consumers.
But
So
remember when building websites was easy? And
Yeah.
now there's all this hard stuff like
I
privacy,
know.
disability.
The good old days, eh, Beth?
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you. Let's see.
Thank you all.
Great. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next month. If you have questions, go ahead and put them either in the Facebook or in the meetup, and we'll go there and take a look at that. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.